Now we're reading chapter chapter 33. But for those tuning in, Deuteronomy 33. Now this is Moses' final blessing to the children of Israel before he goes to Mount Nebo to see and view the promised land. But also, he's just welcoming his end and being taken into the arms of God. And even just taste death and then see life once again, right? But yeah, he dies on that mountain and God takes him up, according to tradition. But we definitely know that he died. Most likely buried there or, again, taken up, similar to Enoch. And there is some textual parallelism to Enoch and Moses. And then textual parallelism from Elijah to Moses. So it like repeats in that sort of order. But anyways, I'll start reading. So again, this is the final blessing on Israel. Now this is a blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, "The Lord came from Sinai and dawned on them from Seir, and he shone forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints, and from his right hand came a fiery law for them." Yes, he loves the people. All his saints are in your hand, and they sit down at your feet. Everyone receives your words. Moses commands a law for us, a heritage of the congregation of Jacob. And he was the king in Jeshurun. And when the leaders of the people were gathered, all the tribes of Israel together, let Reuben live and not die, nor let his men be few. And this he said of Judah, "Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him to his people. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and may you be a help against his enemies." And of Levi he said, "Let your Thummim and your Urim be with your Holy One, whom you had tested at Massah, and with whom you had contended at the waters of Meribah. Who says of his father and mother, I have not seen them, nor did he acknowledge his brothers, or know of his own children, for they have observed your word and have kept your covenant. And they shall teach Jacob your judgments, and Israel your law, and they shall put incense before you, and a whole burnt sacrifice on your altar. Bless his substance, Lord, and accept the work of his hands. Strike the loins of those who rise against him, and those who hate him, that they rise not again." And of Benjamin he said, "The beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, who shelters him all day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders." And of Joseph he said, "Blessed be the Lord of his land, and with the precious things of heaven with the dew, and the deep lying beneath, with the precious fruits of the sun, the precious produce of the months, and with the best things of the ancient mountains, and with the best things of the ancient mountains, and with the precious things of the everlasting hills, and with the precious things of the earth and its fullness, and the favor of him who dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. His glory is like a firstborn bull, and his horns like the horns of a wild ox. Together with them he shall push the peoples to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh." And of Zebulun he said, "Rejoice, Zebulun, and in your going out, and in Issachar in your tents. And they shall call the peoples to the mountains, and they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness. For they shall partake in the abundance of the seas and the treasures hidden in the sand." And of Gad he said, "Blessed is he who enlarges Gad, who dwells as a lion and tears the arm of the crown of his head. He provided the first part for himself, because the lawgiver's portion was reserved there. And he came with the heads of the people, and he administered the justice of the Lord, and his judgments with Israel." And Dan said, Yeah, and of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of blessing of the Lord, possess the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Asher is most blessed of sons, and let him be favored by his brothers, and let him dip his foot in oil. And your sandals shall be iron and bronze, and as your days, so shall your strength be. And there is no one like the God of Jeshurun, who rises the heavens to help you. In his excellency on the clouds, the eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms, and he will thrust out the enemy from before you, and shall destroy. And then Israel shall dwell in safety, in fountain of Jacob alone. In the land of grain and new wine, his heavens shall drop dew. Happy are you, O Israel, who is like you, a people saved by the Lord, the shield of your help, and the sword of your majesty. Your enemies shall submit to you, and you shall tread down their high places. And so the interesting thing about this is that you kind of see this pattern that kind of carries on when you continue to read First and Second Samuel, and then the Kings and also the Chronicles, as you kind of see the civil disputes amongst the tribes and how each of these blessings are attributed to the characteristics of the tribes, right? But the interesting thing about this is that when you read Revelation, both the Song of Moses and the blessings of the tribes kind of carry over into the throne room, I guess, in the part where it kind of lists the tribes of Israel, excluding Dan, and then mentions the Song of Moses that those who are, I guess, survived the tribulation are singing amongst also like the elders and the living creatures, and they're singing like "Holy, Holy," right? Which let me pull that up actually. We'll put that, I guess, in a different video.